Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to give you guys a spoiler review for Marvel's newest movie, Shang-Chi. I absolutely adore this movie and I can't wait to break it down and talk more about it with you guys. If you haven't already seen the movie, you can check out my spoiler-free review. It'll be the first link in the description down below. And before we get into the video, if you guys are new in here and you enjoy all of these videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on so you don't miss any time I upload a video or I go live. But without wasting more time, let's go right into it. So in this video, I'm basically just going to be going through the movie and just giving my thoughts on everything. So the first thing I want to talk about is how the movie starts with just giving us the whole lore of the 10 rings. I absolutely love it. It's all in Chinese, which I didn't even notice because I already felt so immersed into this world. It also explains like Ta Lo and then Wang Wu's relationship with Shang-Chi's mom in that entire first battle. And I didn't expect it to start off on such a dark note. It talked about how Wen Wu who was taking over the world and how he was conquering everything with the 10 rings, and then he falls in love with Shang-Chi's mom, and then obviously they have a family, and then obviously we go to modern day. We see Katie and Shang, that whole dynamic. I love that dynamic so much. We see them partying, we see them at the club, but my favorite action sequence in the entire movie showed up in the very beginning, the bus scene. That was absolutely insane, and just the charisma of Simu Liu as Shang-Chi is undefeated. I love that so much. It was just so much fun to see him fighting for the first time, and Katie was like, when did you learn all of this? Simu Liu is so charismatic as Shang-Chi to everyone around him in that whole bus. There's a guy recording the fight and just the whole environment. It's honestly super fun, but also it has like the threatening like vibes and stuff like that. It's just everything mixed so well in that first scene, that first fight scene. That's why I liked it so much. Also that choreography and the way the whole like scene played out, the way that whole entire bus scene played out. It started off with just a normal fist fight, and then we had Razor Fist come in, and then he was like snapping the bus in half and everything, and then we had the shot, it like panned out of the bus and it just went across the entire bus as Shang-Chi was fighting his way to the very back and everyone else was moving to the front. It was so well shot, and overall the camera work in this movie was just perfect in my opinion. After the whole bus scene, Shang-Chi goes to meet his sister because he thinks that his sister is in danger, and we finally get to see the Fight Club. I forgot what it's called. It's some sort of like underground club. It was absolutely beautiful. I loved all of the scenery. There's actually two super interesting things. There's a fight in there. I don't know if this was shown in any of the trailers or anything like that. There's a fight inside of the Fight Club, and it was basically this guy that was like glowing red, which looked like someone that was experimented on back in Iron Man 3. And then the other girl was a Black Widow, and she looked like she was free. Looked like she was someone freed from the Black Widow movie, as that did take place back before Infinity War. And we also finally got to see Abomination versus Wong. I thought this fight was absolutely epic. Abomination punched Wong. Wong's like, you want to know how it feels, and he opens like a portal for Abomination to punch himself. It was so great. Also, the dynamic between Abomination and Wong was so funny. I loved Wong in this movie. Obviously, he wasn't in the movie for crazy long, but I still thought he was absolutely awesome in this movie. I really had a fun time watching him in this movie. The dynamic between Wong and Abomination was a lot more friendlier than I thought it would be. Moving on, now I want to talk about the absolutely insane scaffolding fight. That honestly was insane. I love that fight so much. We got to see the ninja dude that had the white mask. Him and Shang-Chi fought. Also, I loved like Katie when she was like hanging off the bamboo and she was like holding on for her dear life. That was just so realistic. It wasn't like Shang-Chi could go save her right away, or Shang-Chi's sister could save her right away. It took time and it felt really realistic. It didn't feel like someone could just swoop in because they're flying. They had to go through all the scaffolding while still fighting off other people. And I was like, okay, there's gonna be something stupid about how Katie gets saved because obviously she's not gonna die. But the way that they saved her with Shang-Chi's sister was actually really creative in my opinion. I thought they did a great job with that. But after that, Shang-Chi and his sister and Katie all go to the 10 Rings compound, and then we have a bunch of family exposition talking about how Wen Wu thinks that their mom is still alive and she's trapped behind gates in Ta Lo. Wen Wu believes that Ta Lo took his wife prisoner because she betrayed them. Man was just tripping, honestly. But overall, I thought that whole exposition thing was great. It didn't necessarily feel boring just because of how passionate we could feel that Wen Wu was for finding his wife and kind of freeing her. And just that whole idea of freeing his wife from something that obviously doesn't exist. And obviously, Katie Shang-Chi and Shang-Chi's sister, sorry, I don't know Shang-Chi's sister's name, I completely forgot about it, so I apologize for if I keep calling her Shang-Chi's sister, but Shang-Chi's sister wants to believe her dad, but Shang-Chi knows that it's not true at all. And then we see Trevor again. Trevor is finally back because Shang-Chi, Katie, and Shang-Chi's sister all get locked up in an underground prison. They meet Trevor. Trevor is hilarious. He has a pet named Morris. My favorite comedic moment of the movie is definitely when Trevor says, "Oh, you guys can see Morris too? I thought he was made up in my mind." That is hilarious. And overall, almost everything that Trevor said in this movie was hilarious. I will also say the comedy in this movie really did hit for me. There's a lot of movies where the comedy just isn't really it. Black Widow was one of them. I felt like the comedy was really misplaced in Black Widow just because of how serious the underlying tone was. In these moments in this movie, it felt realistic how much comedy was in it, and I really did like it. I also love that they had Katie be the main person that does all the comedy, and she doesn't do it in stupid moments. At times, there's this one scene later on in the movie where Katie and Shang-Chi are sitting on a lake, and Shang-Chi's like, "I have to kill my dad. That's the only thing I can do." I was honestly expecting Katie to drop a joke there, but she didn't, and I'm glad she didn't because that really would have just ruined the entire vibe. But moving on, we finally go to Talo after this. It's the fantasy world that we've all been waiting for in this movie, and there's obviously more exposition, and this is more explaining the final act. We get explain the Soul Sucker as well as the Great Protector. I love, again, the way they explain all of these things. It doesn't feel like they're just reading off of a book or script or whatever. It actually feels like we're there. It feels like as Shang-Chi and Katie are learning about this, we are learning about it as well. It doesn't feel like they're just telling the audience. It feels like the characters are actually learning about it as well. Now let's finally talk about this third act showdown. I just have so much to say about it. I thought it was so epic. I thought when the army started charging at each other and Wenwu says burn it all down, that was absolutely insane, and it really just gave me Game of Thrones vibes, just massive army fantasy level vibes, and I really did like that. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram already, I did say on Instagram that I didn't expect Marvel to go this deep into the fantasy realm, and they did it in the first more fantastical movie. There's not too many fantasy elements in the MCU. There's some in Thor Ragnarok with the wolves and all those crazy creatures, but overall there's not too many fantastical elements, and they really do a great job in this movie of implementing all of it. Also, the talking in that first fight between Wenwu and Shang-Chi is absolutely awesome. Also, I love Shang-Chi's outfit. It's super dope. I love the dragon scales, but the talking during that fight is so great. Shang-Chi says something along the lines of, "Even if you could bring her back, what makes you think she'd want to be with you?" He says that to Wenwu about their mom / Wenwu's wife. And so that was just heartbreaking from on Wenwu's perspective, because it's what have I become? But Wenwu doesn't take that from Shang-Chi, and he absolutely yeets him into the water. It was crazy how heartfelt yet action-packed it actually was. Everything just worked so well together. When Shang-Chi gets launched into the water, he sees the Great Protector, and then fast forward, we go to the final showdown between Shang-Chi and Wenwu. It was 5 rings versus 5 rings, and I absolutely adored that fight. Honestly, that's my second favorite fight in the movie. I just love that entire fantastical element, especially when it includes the wings. Obviously, we have those mini soul suckers, those smaller dragons that the army is fighting, which is great, but also just the 5 rings versus the 5 rings. Not only the visuals, but also the audio editing and just the choreography of the fights. They were all really, really good. I love the way that they use the rings in this movie. I think it works better that they're just more projectiles and launchers and stuff like that, rather than more Infinity Gauntlet type of things where each one does a singular thing like it does in the comics. Wenwu ends up dying, and he gives the rings to Shang-Chi. This is when we get to the final showdown. I will say the Great Protector versus the Soul Sucker, visually it was awesome. There was only 1 or 2 shots that felt like it was 100% green screen. Other than that, the CGI, composing, everything was so good. Also the score, sound design, everything was almost perfect. I will say my biggest gripe with that final showdown with the 2 dragons is that it wasn't the most necessary in my opinion, but I did like it a lot just because I personally love fantastical elements. I do love these these moments where everything just keeps topping one thing and it just keeps going higher and higher and crazier and crazier. And I like that. And I understand a lot of people that don't. I understand that if the third act loses you just because of how different the first two acts are. But I really like that final act. I love how insane it got. And it just felt like a real fantasy movie. And that's kind of what I enjoyed about it. When I was watching the final act, I wasn't like, oh, when are they going to go back to hand-to-hand combat? I was kind of embracing the fantastical elements because that's something that I enjoy. But again, I don't think it's for everyone. But the movie ends with obviously them defeating the big soul sucker. Shang-Chi does some like crazy fireball thing and like twists the rings inside of the soul sucker's stomach, and then obviously they beat him. They do mourn the loss of all of the people in the army that died, which a lot of Marvel movies don't. They don't mourn the death of others, and they really did it in this movie, and I really love that they did it because it kind of shows about the culture, about how everyone loves one another. Even if they didn't directly know them, they fought beside them, and that's all that matters. The movie actually ends with Shang-Chi and Katie telling their friends the story about all of this, and obviously they don't believe him, and then Wong comes through the portals, asks Shang-Chi if he has the 10 rings, and that's where the movie ends. But now we're going to talk about the first post-credit scene. So Wong talks to Shang-Chi and Katie, and then they talk about how the rings set off a beacon across basically the universe, and then we see Bruce Banner, and we don't see Professor Hulk, we see Bruce Banner, and he has some like thing on his arm. I couldn't tell exactly what it was, but it did look like it had something green on it in the hologram, so it might be something that he creates in She-Hulk to where he can choose when he wants to go back and forth between Hulk and Bruce Banner. So She-Hulk could very well take place before Shang-Chi. I think that'd be a super cool idea, and I would love to have Hulk do that because I hope he has a massive rewrite. I hate Professor Hulk so much. The next thing, and probably my favorite part of this post-credit scene, was seeing Captain Marvel. We saw her with the long hair, and the most interesting part about her character, because honestly, both like Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel didn't really add anything to the post-credit scene. I'm gonna be honest. They both just said, oh, it's not made of vibranium and it's not alien technology. That's literally all they said. But Captain Marvel gets a call and she has to leave, and then obviously she tells Bruce Banner, like, give him my number. Bruce says, I don't have your number anyway. Whatever. Okay, the jokes were there, but the fact that Captain Marvel got called away could lead directly into Miss Marvel, where she's getting a call of some sort of like alien radiation or some sort of alien powers on Earth. There's just so much that could be going on in terms of just like Captain Marvel's whole lore with obviously Miss Marvel and the Marvels, obviously even Monica Rambeau. There's just so much that could be going on, and this movie really does kind of set it up. And at the end of the first post-credit scene, it does show that Shang-Chi is officially a member of basically the Avengers, or whatever the team that's mantled together at the time is, which really isn't anything, but Wong does say your life is going to change now. It's going to be crazy, it's going to be unexpected, but you're part of it now, so there's no going back. That's basically all he says. But now moving on to the second post-credit scene, I thought this one was all right. I thought the first one definitely lived up to the hype. I thought the first one was crazy. It doesn't directly say something. I think that does lead to Fin Fang Foom just because I've seen a lot of videos about it. I do believe that personally. Something larger down the line. I think that the reason the second one was so like grounded and close to the movie was because the first post-credit scene really wasn't. The first post-credit scene was really just out there. But the second one, it was a lot more grounded. It had to do a lot more with the Shang-Chi lore. And it's basically just Shang-Chi's sister is now leading the 10 rings. And honestly, it says at the end that the 10 rings will return. I think it'll honestly be probably a Disney Plus show. Disney Plus Day is in November, so they could be announcing something like that. Or it could just lead directly into Shang-Chi 2, which I'm super excited for. But yeah, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys thought of Shang-Chi in the comments down below. Go ahead and have some spoiler talk down there. I'll make sure to respond to all of your comments, letting you guys know my thoughts on your thoughts. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel for more movie reviews, reactions, and more. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.